This video, I want to talk about the Vedic wife, the chaste, submissive wife, who, like Devahuti, Sukanya, and other examples, Draupadi, the wife of Dhritarashtra, they all set these ideal examples, and how that relates to our women in today's age, and maybe more importantly, where it falls off and where it doesn't relate. Throughout the Bhagavatam, we have these examples of ideal ladies who are, we call them chaste, submissive, and so forth. And the Prabhupada explains that when the wife is like that, she actually ends up controlling her husband, because naturally, when she serves her husband with so much devotion, he will want to please her. He will want to give her what she needs, take care of her, satisfy her. So we have this example of Kardama. His wife went out. She was a princess. Queen did austerity with him, lived a very, very austere life. And he paid her back by creating this beautiful aerial mansion and giving her children. Naturally, out of debt to her, he wanted to give to her what she needed. So when Prabhupada talks about this, he said, this is a wise woman understands how to control her husband or get what she wants from him, because every woman wants her husband to protect her, to give her what she needs and satisfy her. But to beat him down may not always be the best way. Of course, in modern times, it's more on the line of do this as much as you can, but also talk about what you can do. Now, where's the negative side of this? There's two things I've seen, and this is very important because sometimes women don't understand this clearly. They want to follow these examples, but there's a problem. If the husband is not reciprocating, then sometimes the husband takes advantage of this and says, my wife is submissive, she does whatever I say. And he becomes abusive verbally or emotionally, just neglect her. You just have to do whatever I say, and I can treat you any way I want because it's your duty to be a certain way. And so in some cases, the more she is submissive and kind and humble and giving and so forth, the more he becomes abusive. We've seen this. Actually, we've seen this a lot. And so the woman's thinking and being told, but if I'm just submissive and etc., he'll change, which may be true, but not always. And if the abuse is increasing, that strategy is not working, and the only thing that's happening is the relationship is getting worse, and you're being damaged, whether it's emotionally or physically. When it's emotional, sometimes you don't notice it. One devotee was telling me, she grew up in a country where it was normal for relationships to be abusive, and she didn't even know they were abusive until she left that country and started seeing relationships which were not abusive. So sometimes when a woman's in an abusive relationship, she doesn't really know until it's pointed out. This is not normal. So yes, men like to be respected. That's the way they were built. Prabhupada writes about that. Their egos like it. But if the result is that the man becomes a worse husband as a result of that, then it doesn't fulfill its purpose, because its purpose was to help him become a better husband, a better man. Or in the example of Prabhupada's sister, her chastity changed her husband. He gave up all his sinful habits. So I want to tell a story. I know this is going long, but this is important because this comes up a lot. There was a devotee who was raised and born in South America, and a female devotee, very independently minded, and had her own ideas about things, and that's how she was raised, and that was normal. That's just how it is. But she wanted to change, and she wanted to be more of a Vedic wife, and so she moved to India. She married an Indian man, and she tried her best to be that way, and I was guiding her, and I could see that wasn't her nature. She actually couldn't do it. So she was suppressing her more, I don't know what you want to call it. I wouldn't say degraded nature, but just the way she's been conditioned. She suppressed that. And I said to her, I don't think you can actually do this. I don't think you can be the ideal Vedic wife, at least not at this point, because your conditioning is different, because I could see her struggling with it. But she said, no, I want to be this. I want to do this. So she tried and tried and tried. And like a rubber band, exploded and left Krishna consciousness. It had a horrible effect on her. So the point is not just independently in and of itself to be chaste and submissive and do it in such a way that it's so difficult and unnatural, you suppress your need to be who you are as a woman who, let's say, if we're talking about Western women who were raised differently. So this is really important. You can't be something you're not. You can try to be better, but you also have to realize who you are, and your husband has to realize who you are, and be realistic about it. And so last thing I want to say is that one of my godbrothers has been in India for maybe 30 years. I was discussing and asking, we were reading a book about the traditional culture, and I was saying, like, what percentage of devotees do you think could change enough to adapt to these cultural ideas? He said, very, 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 very difficult for most devotees, very small percentage. So we always want to remember in Grihastha life, the goal is to create a peaceful environment at home so we can execute our Krishna consciousness. And the goal in and of itself is not just to be a chaste wife. That is a good goal, for sure. But to varying degrees, chaste, submissive, humble. Not everybody's as submissive and humble as maybe would be ideal. But the goal is to work things out in a way that the husband and wife can work together and be peaceful so that they can execute their Krishna consciousness enthusiastically. So, I mean, maybe for some of you, this is like, of course, obvious, but I'm getting many, many, many reports of women being in this situation where their submissiveness and their kindness and compassion is actually making their husbands worse. And so this is it just can't go along because it's not good for you and it's not good for them. The last thing I want to say is something that I said before in another video. Now, Prabhupada said, the wife should be this way. And so a man asked, a godbrother of ours asked Vishal Prabhupada, does this mean my wife should do whatever I say? And Prabhupada said, no, that's just arrogance. So, we read this and that's what we think. And the last point, which is actually going to be the last point, is that the problem that I see from my vantage point is that if a man is looking at what a woman should be, it probably means he's not looking enough at what he should be. And his job is not to make his wife be a certain way. His job is to be the best husband he can be and focus on being a real man. And let his wife read those things in Bhagavatam and take that to heart and do her best. And let him accept that and let her accept him and let them discuss what they need, what they expect. But when I'm focused on what my wife should be, that's actually wrong. That's her job. According to her realization, that's what she should do. And I should focus on what I should be as a man, as a husband.